I've been thinking about some of my fan work ideas. Normally I'd post these one at a time to try and fill up the number of uploads I make per day, per week. But I've decided instead of making a whole ton of super ultra short videos that I'd make a couple of longer videos and to combine as many ideas as I can into one video. So hope you enjoy some of these ideas. We take a look at Fraggle Rock and what would happen if a young child were to discover the world of the Fraggles. We have a story of what happens when Mega Man and Roll are given a chance to become humans and stop being robots. What will they choose? What will they do? And what situations will make them appreciate or regret their decision? In this pitch to Fanworks, we tell the story of a young girl who discovers a giant worm and raises it into Mothra, and then goes on adventures. I have two ideas, and they're pretty big. One is a multiple cartoon character crossover, placing every cartoon character ever created in a high school situation and letting them have adventures. The other idea is suspiciously Powerpuff Girl related and turns the Powerpuff Girls into teenagers and lets them have teenage issues, things that teenagers care about, as well as major mature subjects that the original series would have never gotten away with. It also creates new heroes, new villains, and parodies a number of comic books, including Darkest Night, Bane breaking Batman's back, Doomsday, and the death of Superman, and many other ideas. It even has a multiverse crossover and crossovers from lots of other cartoon hero characters. It looks at the Powerpuff Girls getting jobs, having relationships, and so many other things. This pitch to Fanworks is about Little Red Riding Hood and what it would be like if the roles were reversed. What if the Big Bad Wolf was the hero of the story and Little Red Riding Hood was the villain? Furthermore, what if the Big Bad Wolf was a member of law enforcement and Little Red Riding Hood was a smuggler trying to hide illegal goods in her basket? We have the Riddler versus the Teen Titans, as each Titans member is placed in a locked room alongside the one person that they get along with the least. The situation forces them to bond new friendships and find common ground in someone that they constantly argue with, based on an original character created for the Legend of Zelda universe. A woman who runs a ranch dedicated to the care, feeding, grooming, and breeding of monsters and domesticating them as pets and animals of labor. We have a story of what happens if the old man from the first Legend of Zelda game, who gives you your wooden sword, realizes that in his having a wooden sword he's already equipped to help save the day, and he goes on Link's journey by himself, leaving Link to return home while the old man becomes the hero of Hyrule. I'd like to see what would happen if the Animaniacs became bronies. What would it be like if Wacko and Yakko were obsessed over a pony series and Dot was the outsider? And then what would happen if the Animaniacs went to Equestria and got to run around all crazy, like having fun and stirring things up and making life interesting? What pony episodes could we parody with the Animaniacs twist to it. People always wonder what Celestia's doing when Twilight and the others are having adventures. Why she doesn't do any of her actual work. Why the princesses don't act like princesses. What do the princesses do, etc., etc. It'd be an interesting fan animation to see the princesses doing paperwork, passing laws, debating bills, going to Congress, having meetings, doing the everyday things that real politicians would actually do. Something I'd like to see the fandom do is take the "We Need More Cowbell" meme that was started in Saturday Night Live and apply it to Derpy Hooves and her band that you see in Rainbow Rocks. Something I've noticed while looking at the App Store on my Android tablet is there's not a lot of interesting apps for My Little Pony that have a particular appeal to me. Not too many games, and most of the stuff is geared for extremely young kids, like very simple coloring books and so forth. There's really not too much out there in the way of tablet app-based pony content, nor is there too much in the way of video games, card games in the nature of your typical deck of the 52 playing cards, the Monster the Gathering and Pokemon style cards, Yu-Gi-Oh cards, Uno cards, things of Dungeons and Dragons, Clue, Monopoly, various other board games, games like chess. There's a lot of stuff that could be taken and ponified and put up for Android tablet, or could be put on Newgrounds as a free flash game, or something like that. There are a lot of pony games out there, like My Little Investigations. There's some ponified hacks of Castlevania and Mario Brothers and Pokemon and Mega Man and stuff like that, but I really think the fans need to step up on the card game, board game making world of My Little Pony and start doing more. Or maybe I just need to be aware of what already exists. Something I'd like to see with the character of Princess Luna is have a story that explains the forming of the lunar calendar, or a story that explains the origins of daylight savings time and how that applies to Celestia and Luna's relationship. This pitch to Fanworks idea goes out to everybody who does video game programming. I'd love to see some kind of video game revolving around a mail-carrying pony. Something where you would deliver mail in a cross between platforming and Paperboy gameplay. And you go through all the different locations of Equestria, and then you would end in Discord's bizarre dimension as the final stage. I have a story about what happens if the characters from Might, Lou, and Odd left the island and returned to the big city. I have a family that comes into possession of Frankenstein's castle. Set during World War II, they encounter Dracula, who wants to discover the Frankenstein monster in the castle so that he can use Dr. Frankenstein's technology to help Germany win the war. The main characters of the story want to use Dr. Frankenstein's technology to help America win the war. It's a look at what classic monsters would be doing if they were taking sides in the war effort during the 1940s. I'd like to see someone take the intro to the Muppet Show and apply it to ponies, according to how I described in a previous video. We have a look at the Spider-Man comic event One More Day as it would have applied if the same events had happened on My Little Pony to the characters of Cadence and Shining Armor. Let's take a look at Rainbow Rocks, the final battle between the two bands, between Twilight's group and the Sirens, re-edited so that it looks like a Final Fantasy battle, complete with summon animation. I have an idea for the Equestria Girls Canterlot High School setting. In this story, we see Fluttershy using the internet and social media to overcome her shyness. The idea is that because she can post things anonymously and do stuff without having to meet people in person, that she would have a change in personality and begin doing and saying things that she would otherwise be too shy to say in real life. Here's an interesting idea for you. What happens when the main six compete against each other in a competition that at least two of them are good at? On this Pitch the Fanworks, we have Maud Pie in the college dormitory with her roommate, and writing home to Pinkie Pie about how her roommate is weird because her roommate talks to plants. On this Pitch the Fanwork, we have a look at what happens when Phineas from Phineas and Ferb builds a robot, and the robot tries to replace his friends, and especially replace Isabella, by being better than each of them at what they do, and tries to make sure that the robot itself is the only thing that Phineas has any interest in, and tries to persuade him to give up all of his other relationships. I have an idea for a story, a look at what would happen if scientists used science and genetics and cloning and things of that nature to create real-life My Little Pony characters. In order to pull this off, the animated sequence would have to be combined with real-life people and presented in a way that looks almost photorealistic. Here's another Pitch the Fanworks. In this story, the idea is that there is a male pony who likes girl pony stuff, and everybody thinks that there's something wrong with him. But then it turns out that he's just a regular guy, just happens to like girl stuff, and there's nothing wrong with that. What do you think of the idea of a My Little Pony series that does all fairy tales, fables, and nursery rhymes? In this Pitch the Fanworks, we look at what happens when there are two disasters, one at CHS and one in Equestria, and when ponies see going through the mirror as a way of surviving the disaster, and then having to choose which disaster they would prefer to deal with, looking into ways that they can help each other, and so on and so forth. Okay, in this Pitch the Fanworks, I have an idea for what happens if the main six were to encounter a single pony who embodied the opposite of all six elements of harmony. Then they try to present this person with their friendship. The pony takes in their friendship, but doesn't learn any of their lessons that they try to teach him. He's only there to take advantage of their friendship and to do things selfishly for himself. Let me know what you think and what talents you bring to the table. Thank you for watching, and good night.